Hello, welcome back to Awakening with Soulspirational. I'm Tish, and today I want to talk about how we can stop taking on other people's energy as though it were our own. So when people share with us their thoughts, opinions, judgments of ourselves, from the time that we're born, oftentimes we just kind of take it in without realizing that we don't have to. Now, some of you may be really good about shutting other people's thoughts, opinions, judgments out. But for a lot of us, we have taken that on. In essence, what we're doing is we're taking on their energy. If somebody over here, and anybody watching the video should know I'm not an artist, so I just do stick people. So if there's somebody over here with thoughts, opinions, ideas, judgments, and here we are, and not that we're bigger than them, I just want to kind of put them in the background there. These are theirs, which means they don't belong within our energy body. So let me kind of break down what I'm talking about here. When we were talking about the 7 main chakras, we have the root chakra at the base of the spine, the sacral, which is around the navel. We have around the diaphragm, the solar plexus. We have the heart center, the throat, the third eye, and then we have the crown chakra. So when people are sharing, they're speaking, there were thoughts, opinions, ideas, judgments. They're coming in, right? I know I trying. It's coming in through our ears. So we're taking in the energy, which the ears would be governed by the throat chakra. Now the throat chakra is your truth center, as well as for communication. So when we hear somebody say something to us, we already have sayings like, oh, I had to chew on that for a little while, or that was really hard to swallow. So what we wind up doing, and especially when we're kids, we don't know better, even into adulthood, we don't know that we can just kind of shut that out, or until we're aware, we aren't aware, right? So when we're bringing other people's energy in through the ears, again, it's being processed through the truth center, through the throat chakra. And oftentimes, we even have sayings too, like, oh, I choked on saying that. Something choked me up. So when we're bringing in that energy, the throat, the truth center, oftentimes we're going to find that it's rejecting whatever it is that was said about us. Now, what I tend to do is when somebody projects their thoughts, opinions, judgments upon me, so depending on the situation, you know, if I mull it over for a while, if I think about it, if I chew it over for a while, I'm looking to see if there's a nugget or a piece of truth within something that somebody said. You know, because I'm not perfect. Maybe there is something that somebody said that maybe I need to start looking at, or I need to work a little bit harder on. But I'm not going to take it too personally. What I do is I'll find that nugget if there is one, and then I'm just going to spit out, metaphorically speaking, or figuratively speaking, I'm just going to spit out that which doesn't serve me. I'm just going to end it right then and there. There's sometimes people will say something to me and it's obvious where it's coming from, so it's like my ears are just kind of closed off to it. I can see it for what it is. But if there's truth, then I will accept that nugget that feels right for me, and then I'll swallow it. Because again, here's what happens when we have other people's energy through the form of the thoughts, opinions, ideas, etc., that are unhealthy, that we're bringing into the ears, that we are forcing ourselves to swallow. Even though the throat may be rejecting it, saying, don't do this, there's a reason why it's hard to swallow. And what do? We push it down from the throat into the heart center. When we're bringing in other people's thoughts, opinions, ideas, especially if there's somebody that we love, admire, we respect them, oftentimes that can even hold even more weight of the hurt that we feel coming from somebody like this. But it can be a complete stranger who says something to us, and we can feel the pain of it within the heart center. Because it isn't loving, it isn't kind, it isn't compassionate. But often, because we don't know better, we just accept Like we force ourselves to accept it or to shove it. So then we're forcing that down into the solar plexus. The solar plexus governs the digestive tract, but I'm going to back up a second. The heart chakra, this is going to be the element of air. And it governs things like the lungs, for example. So when we're bringing something that is hurtful to us, especially somebody else's energy, into the system, that is what can dirty up the air that we are breathing, again, figuratively speaking, or spiritually speaking, energetically speaking. So metaphorically or spiritually speaking, the lungs, the heart chakra is trying to clear the air. It's trying to get it out of there. We can feel the pressure off, and we can feel the pain of whatever that is that hurt us. And again, we drop down into the solar plexus. This is the element of fire or sun. This is also a place, I just typically call it the selves. So self-worth, deservedness, the warrior self, the place of passion. So when somebody else's thoughts, opinions, words, as we're shoving them down into the solar plexus, we may find that it's blocking our own internal light. What do I mean by that? When somebody is standing straight and tall, their spine is straight, their shoulders are back, their chin is up, their eyes are forward, that is a stance of confidence or strength, if you will. So when we have a nice, healthy, balanced solar plexus, you can kind of see it as a nice, warm, glowing fire, or I tend in this case use the analogy of the sun. So what we're looking for is just a beautiful, warm sun, one that isn't scorching the earth. But the other side of that is if it gets really cloudy. If our sun is covered, our internal light is masked by other people's thoughts, opinions, ideas, judgments that we have shoved down, that's blocking our own light. Yes, it can also include our own internal judgments, but I would argue that a lot of that internal negative dialogue, again, stemmed from other people. I don't believe any of us were born here with God whispering down, you're a horrible human being. If we accept the premise that all of us are born into love, through love, then we have this beautiful light flowing through us. If we use the fire analogy, it could be like somebody is just putting out your fire. So where you have the passion in the belly, so to speak, you have the fire in the belly. Other people's thoughts, words, opinions, ideas, it can cloud that over. So maybe we're really excited and we want to do something, and then somebody close by says, you're never going to make that work. Or that's silly talk. You're never going to make any money doing that. We tend, you may find if you've been in one of these situations where we kind of hunch over. It's like that light is being blocked within us because we're accepting somebody else's thoughts, opinions, ideas, judgments as our own. They're not ours. And again, it's also the digestive tract. And when we get here, I kind of see it as the physical body trying to digest plastic. We just weren't meant to digest plastic. Likewise, we aren't meant to digest other people's energy. So when their energy, they have said something to us, we're bringing it in, unaware of the fact that we're kind of forcing ourselves to take it for whatever reason. Now it starts to screw up with the digestive tract. We may start feeling heartburn or have other stomach issues, especially if you're somebody who does a lot of shoving. Like maybe somebody confronted me about something and maybe they were rude, but I didn't want to be rude back, or whatever the situation may be. Maybe I'm afraid of confrontation, so I just don't say anything and I shove it. In that case, I kind of look at it as though it's like a volcano. So every time that we shove throughout life, we're just building and building and building and building. And then we already have, again, things like, that person exploded. They had a vent. Oh, they just, let go. And oftentimes that isn't going to clean up what we have that we've shoved down for all those years. But it just gets enough of that steam off, so to speak, enough of that pressure off, that we can shove a little bit more and a little bit more until we're ready to explode again. I suggest if we learn how to stop taking on things, we can start healing and releasing a lot of the stuff that we have shoved down over the years. Part of that may be working on the throat chakra. Learning how to lovingly be in the moment and let somebody know that was hurtful what you just said or what you just did. When you're ready for that, to open up the throat, that way, again, you can stop it. You can address the situation right there at hand, or maybe sometime soon afterward when you're ready. So we can stop shoving all this energy from all these other people. Again, if it's their energy, it isn't ours. We're not the same person. Now, yes, I believe that all of us are connected. We are all one, but we are individualized in this collective. Okay, so when we, again, getting back to the solar plexus, that's when we may start developing digestive issues. And then if we think about things like our kidneys and our bladder as filtration system, if some of this happens to get processed and digest throughout, what are the kidneys doing? Are the kidneys energetically blocked up with other people's stuff? Or the bladder? Is the bladder congested with other people's stuff? So let's try and at least stop from bringing on more. And then hopefully we can start releasing that which we've already, as I had shown down here, the stuff we've already taken in. So again, the first step is conscious awareness. Just being aware that, you know what, somebody just directed something of theirs, their energy, onto us. So you get to decide in the moment if this is something that you want to swallow or not. I'm going to kind of go through these, the elements a little bit more here too. If we go into the sacral, this is the water element. Now, each of the chakras, there's a lot that they encompass, each one individually. So I'm just giving you some touch points here. So emotions, pleasure, and then the root at the base of the spine is your earth element. So oftentimes what I'll do is I will guide a client to look at their earth element, for example. And I ask them to imagine going to the base of the spine, but then thinking hip to hip, front to back. Just closing your eyes and imagine what your soil looks like, your foundation, that which you've been walking upon. Sometimes when we look, or one of the things I'll ask is, do you see any debris? It may be debris from other people's thoughts, opinions, ideas, judgments, theirs, that has now become like a landfill, so to speak, within our energy system. And it may be from one person, it could be from, maybe 100 different people that you've taken on the debris from others. Likewise, when we're looking at the water element, same thing. What does your water element look like? When you go in, is it a full body of water? Is it a little trickle of water? What does your water element look like? When you get a good feel for it, look and see if there's any debris here. So, maybe we go to a nearby lake and we see, somebody discarded a tire or some plastic bottles or bags. If we're using this as an analogy, that would be other people's thoughts, opinions, ideas that were harmful to us. So again, sometimes we can get some good stuff out of what people are telling us. Constructive criticism. Otherwise, most of the time, people are projecting from their own state of being. So is your water element, do you have debris in there from other people? Now, if you find debris, you can just stay with the visualization and imagine you're going through it just as you would in your own yard. How are you going to clean up the clutter? So in this case, since we're using the imagination, visualization, you can imagine just giving it up to God, the universe, however you perceive it. See a waste truck coming by and throwing it onto the truck, whatever works for you. The main thing is if you notice, debris within your earth element, within your soil. Get that up and clean it out. Because when we have healthy soil or foundation that we're walking upon, then we can plant more seeds, so to speak. More things can grow within us with healthy soil. Same thing within the water. We need water to live. We want to have as clean of water as we possibly can. And you may notice that at different times of your life, different times popping and doing this type of visualization, that it changes because life changes. And it may be that when you think about a particular person, you see debris. But if you think about a different person, you don't see the debris. It's just helping to guide you, your intuition, into what is going on within your energy body. So clean up the water just as you would if you were in a nearby lake. Again, when we get to the sun, if you see that your air is not healthy, cleanse that air. Get that air, or get that toxicity, so to speak, out of your lungs, out of the figurative air that you're breathing. Again, the truth center, that's going to be sound because it's ears. So what are you listening to in life? So if you're spending a lot of your time in life where you're hearing a lot of this, you're probably going to notice a lot of the energy being off in the other ones as well. When we get up into the third eye, that's our sight. So how are we, if we're bringing in other people's negative thoughts, opinions, ideas, judgments, that could cloud the way that we see life. Because instead of going through our own filter, now we have the debris field from others in our filter, so we're seeing life through this skewed view. So as we cleanse up and clean out other people's stuff that doesn't belong to us, then we can see more clearly. And when we get up to the crown, to me, that's just this the words going through my mind is the perfect within the imperfect. You know, all of us as individuals, I don't know, most of us can find something that we find that is imperfect about ourselves. But the divine light that flows in from above, from the crown chakra, to me, that is just perfect. But sometimes if we have enough of this going on up here, it may even be blocking how we see, feel, or perceive that divine light that flows through us. So we want to cleanse all of this out. Now, another thing that you can do besides using the visualization of your soil, your earth, your water, and actually I want to kind of drop back a second. So sometimes if I'm looking at my soil and I feel like it could use more nutrients, I'll imagine just as I'm breathing that divine light through, I breathe it right on into my being, and I see it flow through my soil. So God's light is nourishing my soil, my earth element, my root chakra. And we can do that honestly for each of those. You know, we can see God's light come down and just kind of like breathe, push out the clouds around the solar plexus, for example. So we're using the air element from heart, cleansing out whatever clouds may be blocking within the solar plexus. So I hope that makes sense. Other people's energy is not yours, therefore we want to get it out of there. And just because we're releasing other people's stuff doesn't mean that they just go away. They're still going to be in our life. I mean, if you choose, if they're already in your life, it's just recognizing that we don't have to carry it anymore. If I am in a place of unhealthiness, and I'm sure most of us watching this can recognize this, if we are in an unpleasant state of being, we are much more likely to yell at our significant other, or kids, or the family around us, people around us, because we're unhappy. But when we are in a state of love, we're much more inclined, or we're inclined to share love instead of unpleasantries. So which state do we want to be in? And I would argue most of us would prefer to be in a state of love as opposed to the state of sorrow. But when we are hurt people hurt people. Most people do not just consciously say, I'm going to go out and hurt somebody. I'm going to use derogatory words to just cut somebody down. And even as I just said that, to cut somebody down, it brings me back up to the truth center, to the throat chakra, because we can use our communication chakra to hurt other people. So how do we want to speak? We can speak through the energy of the heart and speak more lovingly, or whatever this is, whatever the toxicity may be that we're holding on to, we can be projecting that through our speak. So I try. I'm not perfect at this. This is all a process, an evolution. And some days are better than others. So what I try to do is when I hear somebody else make a judgment towards me or say something that's less than kind, I will try, if it's on one of my better days, to be from a state of love where maybe I'm sending them positive energy. At the very least, I'm going to cut it off at the ears. So I'm not going to I'm going to cut the energy. I'm going to stop it at the ears. So I'm not taking any more of it in. I'm not taking it personally. I understand that this is theirs. I'm not here to fix or any of that stuff, right? I've got enough of my own. But I am going to recognize where it's coming from. Now, again, if something really stung, where it resonated with you because maybe it's something you've been holding off looking at, a certain character trait or something, or a certain learned behavior. Well, again, then take the piece that you can use for healing to help you move forward and get rid of the rest of the stuff. Here's another thing that you can do. If we feel as though, oh my goodness, I just followed somebody's energy because they said something and I brought it in and I don't want this. Because it takes a while before we can stop it off or head it off at the pass, right? It may take quite a few times of still accepting other people's energy before we stop doing it. So if you find that you're in that state, without becoming attached to it, just close your eyes and just ask. So maybe, Martha told me I didn't get enough done today and she said it with an attitude and it hurt me. Then what you can do is close your eyes, take a couple of nice deep breaths, belly breaths if you can, just to help distill and quiet the body and the mind. And then just ask, where am I holding on to Martha's energy from today or last week or a month ago when she said it? And what you're going to do is just mentally scan from head to toes, across your shoulders, down your arms, into your hands. And you're going to take an inventory. Where am I feeling the energy of what Martha said to me? So you're just going to, and some people will say, oh, I feel it here. Well, that's okay. You became consciously aware, continue to scan. Make sure that you're scanning your face, your hands, and your feet. So don't leave your extremities out of it. Once you get through, and if you're watching this on YouTube or whatever, you can just pause it. Otherwise, once you get a list of take an inventory of where you're holding on to in this scenario, what Martha had said. Maybe you're feeling tension behind the eyes. Maybe your fists are clenched. Maybe your knees feel locked. And you may even notice that you feel it in the gut. Sometimes, again, we already have the terminology, oh, I felt like I've been kicked in the gut. Or that was a punch to the gut, we're feeling it. Then what you can do, once you, I mean, we can go to a much deeper process of, you know, what is it with the eyes and connection to this or the solar plexus. But at the very least, what you can do, because that'll be, I think I addressed that somewhat in another video, but one of the things you can do then is go to the tension behind your eyes and just imagine you're swooping out that tension and stating, this isn't mine. It's from, in this case, from Martha. This isn't mine. I lovingly release it. Scoop it out, release it. When you feel as though it's released, unclench your fists. This isn't mine. I lovingly release it. And you can just imagine sending Martha's energy, in this case, right into the earth. I lovingly release it. My knees feel locked. So one of the things you can see that divine light flowing through you, I like to see it, you know, it's a little hokey, but sometimes like the Tin Man and the oil can, you know, kind of squeaking that around your knees so you can be more flexible in life. Get her energy out of there so you can use the element of water or seeing that liquid divine light flowing through out of the tin can, so to speak, and flushing out Martha's energy straight out from your feet into the earth. Get rid of it. If it's in the gut, same thing. Just kind of go back in and just, this is Martha's. This isn't my energy. It doesn't belong to me. I lovingly release it. Let it go. I lovingly release it. And there's some breath work too that we can use to cleanse. But we can at least start going and being consciously aware. We're going to stop taking in other people's energy. It's theirs. It isn't ours. Once we stop, then we're going to start cleansing out the stuff that doesn't serve us, that we've been holding on to maybe for decades. So when I showed you the picture of the volcano, we can start cleansing that stuff, getting it up, getting it out of here. And that way we can get back to what is ours. We can start seeing more clearly because we don't have all this debris field jumping around in the mind because, well, Martha said this to me and I'm totally overthinking it. Again, to kind of get out of our own heads sometimes. Think about our other energy centers. How can we cleanse those so they can be more balanced, so the earth can be more nourished? So our water is clean and clear and, you know, maybe you see the beautiful current or beautiful waves as opposed to crashing waves, which may be a sign telling you that there's a lot of turbulence in life right now. That we can clear away whatever that is that's clouding our internal light so we can open up and own it. So the air that we breathe energetically, spiritually is clearer. We can speak our truth and see things better and feel even more that beautiful connection above. So, okay, thank you for watching today's episode. Again, don't take on anybody else's energy, just yours. It doesn't belong to you. Don't digest that which isn't yours to digest. All right, if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. Email at the bottom of the screen. Otherwise, until next time, thank you, be well, and namaste.